only 2 seasons ago. Interesting to see where these teams are going to compete on, though. We'll bring up the map bans for you so that you can look over exactly where and won't we be competing. So Noble and mousesports, once again, Clubhouse and Villa out of the rotation. mousesports and Noble have the remaining 5 to pick from. And that border pick, important to note, does not affect these 2 teams. It only affects them if they choose to play on border this time around.
Right, so it's the map that you play the previous week that you as a team cannot play the next week, and your opponent's previously played map, but of course first week of the season, so predetermined maps, Clubhouse Villa, since they are the newest. Of course, Clubhouse seeing its change. So Oregon border, the first 2 bans, and I'm sure a big sigh of relief from a lot of people on seeing those gone. Bank, the follow-up from Noble, and 1 more from Mouse. It'll be Coastline, leaving us with just Consulate. So definitely a staple map, but not the forerunner, not the border that we saw in the previous match.
Right, so as teams are still shaking out how they work on the meta, how they work on the bans as well, I wouldn't be too surprised to see teams eventually start to get a bit more adventurous after this point. Consulate has consistently been among the top 3 most played maps, I think, in almost every region for a number of seasons now, in large part because all 3 of those bomb sites very, very versatile.
Yeah, and now that Consulate has been picked by Noble and Mouse, neither of them will be able to play it next time they play. So let's take a look at the community vote and see what you guys thought were going to be the victor of this match. Will it be Noble? Will it be Mouse? It looks like a 61% favor towards mousesports and 39% for Noble. So that is not that surprising, given how notable Mouse has been in the scene lately and how fresh Noble is.
And Noble made it far into DreamHack Austin, unsurprisingly, and Mouse did not. So I think this could be simply either people who might not be fully aware or having maybe some more confidence now that Hyper has joined that team, maybe thinking that the departure of Rampy, who was one of the star players for Noble, who is now playing on another team in North America that we will see later this evening, being replaced by Crazy, could possibly be a blow to Noble. We'll see how that works, though, as we load into the game. And what are your immediate takeaways on this?
My immediate takeaway is this is a map to study, that's for sure. These teams are going to be a lot closer, in my opinion, than what the community poll has told us. And on a map like Consulate, it's going to favor both squads. Both squads are the hyperactive type, where they're going to be playing aggressively on defense, and they're not going to let any time slip away on attack. They're going to push the agenda, try to push that envelope for their squad constantly, and I expect that to be really something that'll actually help you quite a lot on a map like Consulate.
Glaz being banned out on Consulate, followed by Dokkaebi. Interesting choices here. These are 2 operators who I guess you could maybe say are a bit frustrating to deal with, especially with the ability to rush in or vault in through the windows. Mira will get banned out, so we will not see any Mira so far today. Still 2 more matches left to see, but Noble will take her off the board.
I definitely expect Mira to be one of the most banned operators in the entire Pro League across most regions. Echo also going to be banned. In previous patches, you would say Echo banned. That's curious. But as he stands now, a very, very powerful operator, and definitely not one to be dismissed easily. So the lack of Echo going to hurt probably one of these teams, at least. Console office meeting room seemingly going to be the first defense here. That's the top floor for Mouse. And a reminder, it is 5 defense and then swap on the halftime. So a little bit of a dimensional shift if you are just joining us.
And Echo got a lot of play in that matchup between Rogue and SK. It seemed like he was in more rounds than he wasn't. We're seeing a Maestro swapped off to a Pulse, going with Console Office for Mouse on defense, and an IQ being picked up by Breezy. Not too strange. IQ is an operator who is buoyed in pick rate by the amount of gadgets that we see on defense. You see that there's a Valkyrie being used on Consulate, not a rarity at all. Even before IQ saw a spike in her pick rate, you were seeing her quite often on Consulate for a number of reasons. Legion being stacked up because there's limited entries in, the Valkyrie cams that are likely being tossed outside onto those trees to give you full vantage way, or a full vantage point to see anybody possibly repelling in through the windows. So not a real surprise whatsoever. And Breezy has played that IQ quite a bit, so also a comfortable and familiar pick for him too.
Yeah, and speaking of frequently picked operators, speaking of information, you've got that IQ, you know, clearing out those Valkyrie cams. You talked about the cams potentially outside on those palm trees, but, you know, it looks like those will be countered pretty swiftly. Interesting positioning here from Vertical. He's actually going to go deep with those cams instead of going for the more typical close-up palm tree positions. You can still make work at this level despite everyone knowing about them, but yeah, he's not going to choose that. Instead, a little bit more for our field. Breezy going to be going for the... on Consulate, your IQ is going to spend at least a minute of the round clearing out cameras. That's basically the whole job description. This is a lot more interesting, though. Yeti's already in yellow stairs, and he is getting droned all to heck by his teammates. No hold here from Mouse, so it's going to be a pretty easy take for Yeti.
And it's going to be a point of curiosity for me as to how Noble is going to make this change losing Rampy. Rampy was somebody who, with the addition of Breezy, allowed him to flex onto more of a frag-operated role than simply playing on a support role previously, and now Yeti, I'm assuming, will take the mantle as the chief fragger on the team.
It's a very dangerous game that Noble is playing right now. They've got Neptunes to contest at the top of these yellow stairs, and he seems to be getting a little aggressive, inching his way down. Now, he's playing smoke. He's got a shotgun, he's got an SMG-11, and he has his gas canisters. A very, very good kit for holding this position, but he's lost both of his ADSs now. Jaeger no longer banned, new match, new rules, and as he whips out the shotgun, a simple pump into Yeti's torso will eliminate him, and he's even got those gas canisters to follow up and deny the use of this EE1D, but it's not going to matter. He chooses not to move away and not be detected, and as a result, Breezy will get the double nade kill onto Neptunes. Good control established there, but at what cost? A lot of time, a lot of utility, and a player.
But at least they were able to trade it off. And I mean, you've got your smoke playing, but they're not using their smoke as your typical anchor. That's something you noted. He's a very important operator to possibly lose early on. I would take that smoke over Buck trade. I think the smoke is far more valuable in this instance. They're using Vandal as the Legion in place of the smoke, using those goo mines to try and slow them down rather than having those toxic babes available. Crazy pushing up now towards that closet, can look all the way into console office, will take out the black eye that is looking towards Crazy. And of course, Crazy being a new addition, there might be some growing pains, so keep in mind that expectations on him to adjust to the team might be a little different. He was playing on 12 nights in DreamHack Austin. A big push, though, from Noble now as Breezy takes out Vandal and will go for a pre-fire into the wall. Noble will manage to use that Lion Charge quite well. Vertical will miss most of his shots. That's uncharacteristic of him as he'll drop through the hatch. Hyper trying to pump a couple shots in. His diffuser going down successfully by Acid, and it will be a good plant. Crazy takes out Vertical before being traded off by Beastly. And Hyper right now in connector. He'll get one. It's a last stand. The C4 from Beastly will miss, but both Heavy and Breezy very low on health. He'll do his work as Pulse to try and feed information to the hyper-active Jaeger, but we'll get no kill as Breezy shuts that one down. Beastly on the men, and a big round from Breezy. Oh my, a 4K will seal the deal, and Noble will take their first round on attack, which is a bit puzzling because a lot of teams will tell you it is not always fun to be able to attack this site right off the bat.
Oh, that's for sure. It seemed as well like it was a decent defense being set up by mousesports, but it just didn't work out for them because they didn't have enough pressure on the B-bomb site. They lost all of their fangs. They had no real positions to hold, and their main B hold priority was Crazy in that corner playing Legion, but he couldn't get anything done as he was quickly spotted out and locked down.
And Breezy has proven himself to be a very valuable addition to this team. Now, he was dropped from Cloud9 for a different set of circumstances than possibly skill or possibly attitude-based. That's not really information that we are privy to. But if he was dropped for skill, it's a big question mark for me, because even in DreamHack, we saw Breezy perform really well. In Relegations, we saw Breezy perform very well. And now here, starting things off, admittedly, it could just be a flash in the pan because it is one round in, but it's a big impact that he's already felt. So because the defense of Mouse lost, they can go back upstairs, and they're going to do just that. And they're going to go back up top to Console and see if they can play better this time around. Now, you might notice that they are bringing the exact same composition and hoping, I suppose, that their setup this time around is able to push out Noble. But for Noble, it's a different story. They've brought a Blackbeard in place of the Lion. They've got a Capitao for maximum chaos with those smokes and asphyxiating bolts, and then a Thatcher to clear out any goo mines or potential ADSs that could wreak havoc on their team. So still got the 2 frag grenades from Buck in place of the potential IQ, so you've lost those 2, but you trade them off for more utility across the board. Interesting choice from Noble, probably assuming that they were going to go for maybe a different route, but not bringing a Thermite suggests that Noble understood that it wouldn't be a push downstairs into the garage.
In terms of lineup here from Noble, they've got a decent setup. Now, counter to Border, this is wow, an early kill for Neptunes. Now, he played on those yellow stairs the previous round, but not quite as aggressively as what we just witnessed. I think really just understanding where Noble's going to go and pushing into it. And this is the aggressiveness that I was talking about at the beginning of the match. I think even you touched on it a little bit. It's basically just, I think it's one of the most notable things for both squads. So something that will aid them quite a lot when they're on their defensive side. And that's going to put Noble now in a tricky spot.
That must be very frustrating for Yeti to get cooled down and shut down that early on. And at least this time around, he was able to help, or the first time around, he was able to help burn those ADSs. He was able to apply pressure, maybe even get that skeleton key off a couple times. This time, nothing at all is gained from Yeti on that Buck, and it leaves your team at a disadvantage immediately.
Something I really I'm curious about, and I want to ask you about, is Breezy getting on Capitao instead of an IQ? We still have that Valkyrie from Mouse. They're still going for the information game, and Noble's aware of that. But my answer seems to be in what's going on right now, as Acid attempts to go for a plant, but is thwarted thanks to some good gunplay from Vandal. And those smokes no longer going to be in the assist of the attack. Vertical, meanwhile, downstairs gets Breezy, and it's just all falling apart before we can even get to the underlying strategy Noble was trying to employ. Mouse will really just lock it down. Neptune's the final kill. I was going to ask you, I was thinking...
You didn't even get to your question. It was over so soon.
I was thinking, oh, an IQ not going to be brought, and instead you bring a Capitao. Well, clearly it's a rush strategy, but is that really smart when you're dealing with a Valkyrie?
I'm very curious to know what they were trying to accomplish with that. You know, having Yeti take control of yellow stairs that quickly on could have possibly paid dividends. You flush somebody out at the top, you can then anchor down and make sure that nobody can rotate through connector, and then you get your smokes off. But that didn't really happen because Neptunes was able to get that kill on yellow and then rotated back up to console office where you saw the push happen. He was doing double duty and essentially covered 2 areas over the span of a minute to shut down both parts of that push, and that was very, very good from Neptunes to be able to accomplish that, and a good read from the rest of his team also to have vertical play downstairs. But then the sloppiness of Noble to not understand that there's a Valkyrie down there, no droning at all, running in blind, Crazy gets taken out, and then there's a second push of Breezy to not even bother to check that vertical is still there and gets taken out in the exact same spot. There's some shakiness on Noble, and yeah, they played really well in that first round, but they can't commit those kind of mistakes again. They'll get eaten alive by Mouse. It's too experienced of a team at this exact moment.
Yeah, I think ultimately the first round you could chalk up really just to Neptunes not doing so great on the yellow stairs, getting shut down early on thanks to those nades. You know, the EE1D is pretty scary. But you can move when you know you're safe to move, and Neptunes was definitely safe to move, and instead he bit the bullet, or the nade, I guess in that case. He lost that round for his team. The second round, not the case. Mouse was aware of the pressure on the yellow stairs, and not only did they set themselves up better to hold it, but Neptunes just straight up walked down, and like you said, he got the buck on the entry thanks to sloppy play from Noble, as you said, not anticipating an adjustment from their opponents.
And that's an easy spawn drone to set up and have somebody watch as well. So why are you face checking that doorway as a Buck early on?
But speaking of early on, we're early into this third round now, and Noble are going to be attacking onto a different site because Mouse has gotten that win. Now, if Mouse is successful here, they're going to have to go down to the basement, thanks to that three-site rotation, which is new to this season. But Noble going to try and make sure that doesn't happen. Of course, they'll be pushing their way downstairs. Interesting thing about the middle floor, and we've talked about it many a time, but for those of you who are newer to CG Esports, don't know a lot about Consulate, you can defend the, or attack for that matter, the middle floor from either above or below. There are a lot of options in your hands on this site, and just in general on this map. Probably one of the most dynamic, well-balanced maps in all of CG Sports.
And it looked for a second there that the drone was going to get taken, but it does appear that the ADS will eat the frag grenade, so that barbed wire will sit pretty. Breezy takes out Vandal, though, early on, and Neptune's able to refrag. Why is this smoke? Neptune's 3 rounds in a row. Yeti 3 rounds in a row. Why are you continuously committing to this strategy when it is not working at all? And these are just free kills for Mouse at this point.
That's the same player killing their same opponent. Again, 3 rounds. How is this possible? Hyper now going to add to that. Crazy gets eliminated. He's just sitting on the top of these yellow stairs in the CEO office, using some holes that were pre-established from the defense. Not only 3 rounds in a row has Yeti died on yellow stairs, but what is the attack strategy from Noble? They keep going to yellow. That's not a strategy. But here comes the push. Acid now going to go into Piano, and it doesn't seem like Mouse has a lot to stop this plant, actually. The Blackbeard, no, not Blackbeard, pardon, Heavy on the Lion, using those windows to cover his teammate, and a simple plant, almost no contention from Mouse.
This is unbelievable, and there was nothing really there. Vertical will get the kill on the Acid, though, and still give a big advantage. Heavy looking to try to get one. Hyper will shut down Breezy, and Heavy will have to expend his very final EE1D, but it's a 1v4. This is an impossible task for the Lion to find himself in. And Michael, the one big thing is Neptunes takes out Heavy. That's it. It's an easy seal for Mouse. Neptunes gets the first frag in the final as well. The one thing, Michael, that I have picked up on, at least over the last 2 rounds, was they go in, one of them dies, and then
Yeti
another one,
dies.
and then Yeti dies. My apologies. Yeti dies. Another one of them goes in, dies, and then the remaining 3 say, let's just rush the site. And sometimes it works, as was this case, which it inevitably didn't at the end, or it doesn't work immediately.
Well, I would say, I mean, the first round, the reason that it worked was because they didn't just give up on yellow after they lost Yeti. They then pushed in. They got Neptunes. Good teamwork. EE1D, make them stand still, clear the ADSs. There are 2 of them with flashbangs. Get the nade, you have the control you want. The really curious thing for me, Parker, is yellow stairs, yellow stairs, yellow stairs. 3 rounds. That is not that is telling of you not being sure what to do on Consulate, and that is very confusing because we have an extremely small map pool, Parker, and I don't know. I feel like Consulate's probably one of the more well-versed maps for every team.
I mean, you also got to say, it's kind of unheard of to have your smoke playing that aggressive on yellow stairs. Now,
yeah,
a lot of times
sure.
on yellow stairs, you might have a Legion, you might have a Jaeger there with the ADSs. You possibly have a castle if you're using a castle strat set up upstairs, maybe even a Valkyrie. But the smoke is usually much deeper and safer in sight. But the way that mousesports have been playing, they've been keeping that Legion on site as their anchor in place of the smoke. This time around, they also have a Maestro available to them if need be, so he'll definitely be there to help out, and they can possibly have Neptunes play more freely, but it's mind-boggling.
I just want to see what happens if Noble decides to attack from a different angle. I mean, we're talking about the basement now. Since Mouse has managed to win the top floor and the middle floor, they have to go downstairs. And that's not going to hinder them or anything. It's just a little bit different. Because of that, we're going to see a thermite pick. But, you know, and on the basement, you typically need to pressure from yellow stairs. It's pretty much a requirement. You can't really attack this without doing so. I mean, you can. It'd be difficult, though. Hard to pull off, that's for sure. But at the same time, I'd like for it not to be the centerpiece of Noble's attack. And I want to see what happens when they do that, when they have that little mix-up. On the note of the defense, though, Mouse have extended themselves all over the map. They have some top floor roamers, some middle floor roamers, and they have a decent anchor game going on with Vertical on that Maestro.
And we are on Yeti watch right now. He has eclipsed the 45-second mark and will not be the opening frag for Mouse this time around, as he will just rappel right in. taking control of that bathroom, looking to see where they're going to go, but possibly could meet his fate at the open hatch from above. And EE1D will at least force the defense to stop for just a second, as Yeti will do his job from above, take some damage from below, only a small tick as he tries to work away at those bandit charges. The Mute of Vertical is ready at any moment to drop that hatch and go for some pressure, as he sees the feet of one will light him up on the crazy. That's the Hibana playing just by the main lobby, but Mute not able to find all of what he's looking for. He'll now rotate and look towards that spiral stairs, as both panels on the garage successful. So Noble has at least been able to move their chess pieces into the appropriate positions, and that barbed wire will get destroyed by Yeti, who at the halfway mark is still alive, and that is worthy of some commendation here so far.
Absolutely. The only player on Noble to have taken any damage is going to be Crazy. And Hyper looking to extend that Crazy on 1 HP, or 1 bullet's worth of HP at this point. And he's going to struggle in this round. You can see Mouse is also positioned 2 roamers in a flank spot, and they are not being watched right now, but the E1D is going to force them to stand still, and it looks like Heavy has adjusted his focus. So this could be bad for either team. It really just depends on the timing. With 50 seconds left, it could go either way. Heavy's still watching the flank, but he's not expecting the second one, and this could be a refrag from Beastly very easily. Vandal's also going to get the kill on the site, but the diffuser plant has happened. Yeti and Heavy, though, fighting back, and it's all up to Neptunes and Vandal. And they're going to have to push out of the garage. It's just not to be. Pretty much the easiest situation to hold it out. We do have 2 lit players and 1 downed. That's Yeti. So it could actually be a clutch, although I find it highly unlikely. SMG-11 not doing a whole lot of damage at this range. Almost a kill there onto the Lion, but it's not going to happen. Yeti's still down. And Heavy flashed thanks to his own flashbang. Finished off finally by Neptunes. There's not enough time, though. It is physically impossible for Neptunes to win this round, and at this point, he's just fluffing his KD. Heavy gonna lock it out, get that final kill, and Noble will win that 4th round.
What absolute mayhem that was, and you saw there was so much attention being paid to that main lobby push. You had those 2 members of Mouse coming in for the flank, but there was a plant going off down in the basement. Either bad calls or too much hesitation from Mouse to get those roamers back to site to assist your anchors, because you cannot leave them out to dry like that. The EE1D was used, it maybe inadvertently or maybe well-timed, to freeze everybody in place. We thought it might have been used to keep them in place in the main lobby, but more probably to keep the anchors from being able to push to get that diffuser down. So off-screen, you're seeing Noble pulling together a pretty decent strategy, and if Yeti can manage to stay alive, it bodes well for their team, even though so far he's 1-3 in that regard.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is we didn't actually see any of the site push, so there's not a whole lot we can talk about there. Clearly, though, as is evident by the way that the operators were set up in the beginning of the round, Maestro not using his Evil Eyes very efficiently, unable to deny that plant, or either that or they were disabled by Noble. Could be some well-placed IQ grenades, for all we know, or even bug grenades. Who knows? But we did see that flank, and the attempt by Mouse for the flank. The really big thing for me is that it was completely and hopefully shut down thanks to Heavy, able to just lock it out single-handedly. And it was because the follow-up roamer was not aggressive enough. And we talked earlier about the aggression, and I'm going to bring it back up again because it wasn't there. It was nowhere to be seen. And it's a characteristic that I think makes both of these teams great, and they need to latch onto. They need to give themselves every advantage that they can.
What I like the most, though, is how dominant a performance these teams have put out in the rounds that they've won. Those have been clear-cut. There has been no real, I suppose, speculation as to, well, what if this had gone differently? Because so far, the scoreboard is a good representation of how these teams have played in these rounds. As you can see from the actual scoreboard, Acid right now doing great for his team in a supporting role. Still hasn't found the score sheet, but that's okay because those contributions we say don't always get reflected in the point totals. Right now, they are for him.
Absolutely. The support roles often slept on, and you can see them shining in this match, that's for sure. A lot of droning going on for both teams. We've seen a couple rounds where the droning hasn't been great, but it's not going to be the case, at least here. Yeti has made a role swap. He's now playing Jackal. Very smart. The way he's been entering by himself, either ahead of the drones or behind the drones. Having a Jackal means he is going to be much more dynamic as an individual and can solo entry on these potential roaming positions.
Jackal is a bit of a strange operator for Consulate, though. We don't typically see him as often on this particular map because usually the roam game is somewhat predictable. Less so than you would find on a map like maybe, say, Bank, where you do see him quite often.
To be honest, it's probably just because Consulate's a pretty easy map to segment. You can lock out whole zones by a 15-second drone. It's not that complicated. So you're right. Jackal a bit of an odd pick, but it makes sense given how Yeti's been playing to an extent.
A proud member of that Red Dot gang, you might see that is a bit of a strange thing. Even more of an oddity than anything else is the propensity at which he uses that. Now, here comes the squeeze as the first EE1D. Will stop everybody in place, and Noble is positioned. They'll start to rappel right in and take control of Consulate. And despite that goo mine working to deal Acid some damage, they're just going to push. But no, it's Vandal there to be able to double up on him and take care of the one member of Noble who is positioned at that window. Yeti stopped in his tracks by the goo mine, but that's an easy kill on the Vandal as he looks around the doorway and goes for a fight into Connector. There's two of Noble right now positioned in a spot where they can get the plant off. Heavy will give cover to Hyper as the defuse going down. Breezy will hail those toxic gas and he manages to get it and get away. And once again, Noble is just being so successful at getting these plants down.
They got those yellow stairs control like they wanted. They got the simple push into B like they wanted, and Breezy now in the post plant going to get Neptunes. The C4 denied by Yeti, followed up by a kill on a vertical, and it's just Beastly now in a 1v4, not to be. Yeti locking it out and giving a 360 for the added flare. Noble win the half 3-2, and we will see the roles swap.
So, all things said and done, that is 2 for 3 attacking upstairs for Noble. So, showing that is the site for them. And made a little bit easier maybe by the composition they had. I'm intrigued looking at this Mira ban. Mira doesn't really see a ton of play up top. You mostly see her downstairs in the garage, and every now and then you might see her in the main lobby. But, hold on a second. Yeti.
What's happening? Oh,
this has got to be a 6th pick,
it's
right?
probably a 6th pick, yeah. I mean, either that or he could just be going for it. He could be the man.
It's got to be a 6th pick, or it's got to be obvious bait. And they say, oh, they're going to change the Tachanka off. Of course you're going to do that. We're not going to be blessed by the Lord's presence here.
Look,
not
the
just
pulse.
yet.
Surprise, surprise.
So, I was strange that the Mira pick would happen, actually. I was
Mira ban?
The Mira ban, yeah. I was almost willing to bet that she would stay unbanned for this particular map because I would say so, because the way that teams use her on the garage is probably where she gets the most value, being played far back, maybe inside of that office room, maybe inside of the staff cafeteria area. Some teams, especially Liquid, have been known to put a Mira window and possibly pop it open and toss a C4 out onto the actual garage itself. So I could have seen her possibly sneaking through this ban phase.
Yeah, and even if you're defending basement, or even this floor, having a Mira in the bathroom, super influential. But yeah, she's here, and it's probably because of exactly what you're saying, Parker. It's probably because of that thought exactly that she was banned out by Noble. And it doesn't. I mean, it seems to be working out for them so far. However, now it's their turn to defend, so this might hinder them that they banned out that operator. Another interesting thing for me was the Echo ban, because the way that Noble won 2 of these rounds is by inching their way into the B-bomb site on the top floor and getting the plant. If there were an Echo, maybe that wouldn't have happened. But not to be, thanks to the operator bans.
And it was Mouse who took Echo out of the fight, so it's not even that it was a deliberate purpose. It's not even like Noble knew that an Echo would be able to stop them in their tracks. It was Mouse who took it away from them, and especially attacking upstairs, there are lots of safe spots for an Echo to hide and use those yokai drones as a scouting tool. Heavy will get a little bit too aggressive and get peeked out of a window as Neptune shoots him up, and that is the Hibana getting the very first kill.
An interestingly mistimed C4 from Yeti. Gonna be absolutely wasted. That's going to hurt his defense a lot moving forward in this round. Now, he's up against an IQ, and that could also cause him some discomfort, possibly death. But we'll have to wait and find out.
That was one on Rappel that I think he misjudged as to being in the actual room, and there was nobody in open area there, or admin rather, to be able to take advantage of that C4.
Yeah, really an odd decision there from Yeti. But it's all said and done now, and yeah, Vertical going to be pushing his way in, using his IQ electronic detector to find all of these electronics, possibly even a pulse, and establishing this top floor control. But this is top floor control, and we're not looking at a top floor defense right now, so it's gonna be on Mouse to apply a little bit more pressure, a little bit more swiftly, to get the round win. And Hyper, nice detection there onto the pulse, gonna force him down.
And that's great, and it's completely freed up the top floor. As you just said, they need to focus on being able to put pressure on the top floor, and they've done just that. They've been able to get the most coveted room in the entire map, other than the bomb sites, which is that projector room above the main circle desk. Once you have control of that, you can cut off rotates through that open hatch with great ease. And now they've pushed a lot of Noble down into the basement. The Pulse is trying to take care of any potential C4ing. You've got Crazy positioned under that hatch with the C4 in his hand, but Vertical takes out Yeti. Crazy going for the frag, he'll get it, and drops Vert. That's a trade, but still a 3v4, and right now Mouse is in good position. The Maestro looking for a potential out of that bathroom. That's Acid with the shotgun pistol in hand, possibly to take care of the wall, but Mouse took that opportunity to get an early pick on in this push, but have now stopped, and both Breezy and Crazy watching the hatch that lead into the lobby. Two of them downstairs. That means that there's only one up top. C4 primed and ready. Breezy will toss it out, but there will be a nice dodge from Vandal as he manages to skirt away from the C4, getting the plant down. Amidst the shroud of smoke will be the Maestro. He'll make a ton of noise as Acid tries to rotate, and he'll get picked apart by Hyper. Great flank watch there, leaving the two members of Noble downstairs, and they're going to have to fight for a retake. Breezy into the main lobby, but will be spotted from above as Hyper has complete control of that room, and will leave Crazy in a situation that not many people would envy him for. Working his way up yellow stairs, looking to see if he'll be able to push into connector. Hyper is still up top. Crazy will need to fight for that potential hatch in order to get a drop down, and Hyper will hear him and make the adjustment. Go for a pre-fire, but a great shot from Crazy as he now surveys the spiral desk. He'll drop down towards the circular desk, rather, and at the bottom of spiral stairs, it's Neptune's able to finish things off, and Mouse will punch back on the first of their attacking rounds.
A good execution, but I have to say, really just a poor setup there by the Noble defense. The way that they were situated was prioritizing C4 from below, and that is totally viable. I mean, it's a different strategy that you don't often see. But the problem was their C4 was not only mistimed, but also poorly placed. Even if the C4 had landed while the plant was going down, neither of them would have hit their mark. It seemed, and I hate to say it, but it seems like they haven't practiced those C4 tosses well enough, because those were just off by a large margin. On top of that, of course, the Pulse losing C4 earlier in the round and not seeing anything from it is going to hurt you quite a lot. But it was a simple strategy from a Mouse, on the other hand, to get rid of the Maestros, smoke up, and walk in and plant. Not really much to be said about that.
Yeah, a really confusing throw by Yeti there. However, not to say confusing at all, but we will see Alibi's debut in Pro League. Heavy will trot out the other Italian operator. Maestro has seen quite a bit of a spotlight so far, but we haven't really seen what Alibi's capabilities are so far at all in Pro League. A bit of a mischievous operator, but one that from scrim reports we haven't seen a lot of rear her head at all, because a good coordinated team can usually call out those decoys, and then you're left with a 3-speed with a gun that isn't quite as good as, I would say, either Bandit or Jaegers.
Or even Vigil. I mean,
or Vigil.
You've got a long list of operators that exceed or rather excel at what Alibi is capable of. She's a great operator, and I think she's one that a lot of people are going to enjoy playing. But unlike Maestro, she doesn't have as much of a place in Pro League, just due to the nature of Pro League. She's definitely going to see play, though. I mean, she will disrupt the teams. She will cause them to second guess, and on an individual player level, she can outplay many people. So it's possible that this Alibi pick from Heavy is the tipping point for Noble, which allows them to start winning some defensives. Of course, we're only just narrowly into the second half, so lots of time to find that out.
Just a brief note, I would call her a fun operator.
Fun operator, yeah.
I would say that she inhabits a role similar to possibly Kavera, possibly even Capcan in a lot of strategies, Frost by and large, as well as it's one to use for enjoyment, but not one that might have as much of a use up top. Anywho, the downstairs garage is totally free, and you'll see that the entry will come. There appears to be 2 members of Mouse down there. An interesting way that they're going to shoot that one out to take care of the camera is that's Hyper using the secondary shotgun of Jackal to open up holes with a sledge right there, almost as if he could have done that himself as he does some drone work. Beastly trying to figure out if there's anybody downstairs right now. It does appear that there's one. Yeti will be creeping his way up spiral stairs. That's the Legion of Noble, trying to work his way back onto the main landing, and he will do just that. He's joined by Crazy as well up top.
You can see there's a little bit of fight of the angles going on here between the defenders and the attackers over yellow stairs. Yeti stuck in Z right now, and he's in a great position, but he's going to have to time his push perfectly. As you can see, a crossfire between the Mouse players, one in piano, one on yellow stairs.
Heavy was also on the main floor, so that's 3 roamers sitting beneath the sights right now for Noble.
Oh, poor timing there from Yeti, and he's going to go for a continuation of that fight. He will win it, but is refragged quite easily thanks to Beastly supporting his teammate. Some poor timing from both Yeti and Vertical is going to cost both of them their lives, but nothing has really changed in terms of control in this round.
Vertical very quickly making a name for himself as one of the star players of North America. Absolutely great aim, and has been an integral part of why Mouse has been as successful as they have been in Pro League thus far. And it's a loss whenever you have him taken out. Now Breezy in a position trying to get a shot onto that rappel. Neptunes loses all but the tiniest portion of his health, and Mouse is not in great shape at the moment. You've still got Heavy downstairs on the run, and you'll see Breezy easily able to finish off Neptunes, dispatched on the window, and Crazy up on the rotate will take out Beastly and gets a second. What a bullet pen kill for Crazy. Oh my, that'll leave just Hyper, who was on Repel by console office windows, with 20 seconds left and 4 members of Noble to have to deal with. His push will start to come in through the yellow stairs, but he's wasting a lot of time. Breezy will go for the smoke off, and Crazy is there to greet him with that carbine, waiting to see if they'll take out the Jackal. A pre-fire for Crazy, and that'll be an easy finish to the round for Noble. They are just trading back and forth, and once again, on very definitive rounds, ending with 3 or 4 alive on both sides every single time they snag a victory.
And an absolutely fantastic individual round for Crazy. He really outperformed in that situation, allowing himself to stop the defuse plant as well as pick apart 2 of the flank holds for the attack. The way that they were holding that site was really odd. Noble were playing so far from the actual site itself. They were playing heavy on the roam, and Mouse kind of stepped into it. A lot of it you can chalk up to poor timing. Vertical's death at the bottom of yellow stairs, poor timing. The push coming from the sledge, trying to hold on to yellow and not having a flank hold, well, that's because Vertical died earlier, and he was throwing a nade in the middle of that engagement. Poor timing. Trying to plant the diffuser was the thermite, and then he stood up and walked into Crazy spray through the wall. Poor timing. But a loss is a loss, and Noble now are a step away from match point.
And yeah, like I said, I'm confused as to how these are happening. I wasn't really sold on the way that Noble was playing all their bodies downstairs. They really weren't in the position that I thought they would. And for me, it looked like total disorganization that Mouse would have been able to do quite well to pick apart.
Yeah, and there's some interesting things going on that scoreboard. We've got some underperformance. We've got some really hyper performers. Specifically, here you've got Neptunes and Breezy standing out from the pack. But some people who have yet to wake up really in the match. And then really that's all it comes down to. Everyone has their bad matches, and sometimes it just comes down to people fully leaning on that support role or just not in a good position to get a kill. You know, it's a very real thing in Siege. As compared to some other FPSs, sometimes you have matches where you just don't see an opportunity to get a kill. Sometimes you just get really unlucky. It could be down to the ebb and flow of your team. It could be down to how the enemy are playing. It really doesn't matter. A lot of the time you will have those circumstances where you just don't get the opportunities.
I mean, Acid has been reliable for the team in the past, so I don't think this is a trend that they really need to worry about. But
No.
definitely the fact that they're able to do so with his calls, I mean, he's slowly taken a dip in terms of points, and his value on the team might not be on the scoreboard at the moment. His team's still winning, though, and prevailing is, of course, what matters more than anything. Naturally, when you review it, if you find an opportunity where he could have potentially played better, then, you know, you might not be happy with if this ends up being, you know, maybe a 6-3 victory. You think maybe it could have been a 6-1 or a 6-2, depending on if he'd shown up fully to his potential. But I think that's staring down the rabbit hole a little too deep for my liking.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all about that, right? It's about progressing based upon your experience. Heavy, top yellow stairs, trying to fight off these roam hunters. And he's playing Vigil, so he's going to be able to avoid these drones. And he's done this successfully so far, and it doesn't seem like Mouse is aware of his position. I mean, you're playing Vigil on the yellow stairs, you could be really anywhere. The IQ, though, could possibly detect him, and it seems to be on the priority of holding those yellow stairs. Breezy will get the first kill, and that's Hyper, no longer able to play Buck. And as Vertical moves his way down yellow stairs, he's looking for that Vigil. He knows he's got to be around here somewhere, but it seems that he's fallen all the way back to site. Good call there from Heavy. Though Vertical, because of that, able to deny the bandit charges.
Heavy is just the elusive man right now, on the run, and the Buck had done some great work, but oh no, what are you doing? Breezy just tries to drop a bandit charge, doesn't manage to get the exothermic charge, ends up paying for his life, but what a C4, he'll take out Vertical as the IQ tries to go for it. Yeti a shotgun blast to Neptune's. Finally, Yeti has the smoke, getting his poetic revenge on yellow stairs against Neptune's. That will leave Beastly and Vandal in a 2v5. Beastly will get one onto Yeti, and they'll have to mount a comeback now, as they are currently doubled up on by their opponents.
That was an interesting engagement there from Vertical. I mean, if he hadn't leaned the wrong way, the easiest kill we've seen in a while, but he must have fat-fingered. That's gotta suck. Vandal from outside of Garage, looking to get Breezy. What a kill for Breezy. That's not supposed to happen, but Beastly from above, able to get a nade to respond. Good positioning from him as well. We don't have many defenders in a spot to deny the yellow stairs, so with only 13 seconds, it is still technically possible for Beastly to get this clutch. However unlikely, he will get another one. Acid dispatch, but with that Legion trap in his foot, it's not going to matter what happens. Acid gets the final kill, and I believe actually possibly his first kill of the match.
And he made it
thanks to a Legion trap.
He makes it on the board. he gets there in great fashion.
Good job.
And that's match point
Outskilled
for Noble now as well, who have won 3 on attack and now 2 on defense, and will go to match point in what could be a very quick contest between these two, and Mouse really lagging behind. Now, the one thing that I do like about the way that we do these best of ones is you can't really point a finger and say, well, they lost the map ban pick. I mean,
2 bans.
It's very likely that mousesports could have possibly lost the map ban phase off of the 5 maps that were available, but more than anything, they're hurting on strategies right now. I don't know how much that departure of Mark the Shark has hurt them with Hyper getting picked up in place, because it seems to me that the strategy that Mouse uses quite often is have one player take over a game in addition to Vertical, and right now that's Neptune's. I think he has shown up really big today. He has played well where he needed to, and these have been largely impactful frags that he's been able to get. He's been able to get lead-off kills that have set his team up for success. He's been able to try to fight for refrags and trades onto crucial targets as well when playing on defense, and now on attack. He's going to have to continue that. Right now, Noble is eating Mouse alive on this defensive stand, and will now go to the main lobby as Breezy leading the way on his team. Yeti, despite the fact that he had those 3 really early deaths, not too far behind, and this is going to be a very interesting take for Noble. It's going to be designed to slow Mouse down, maybe expecting a push that could happen quickly. You're going to have the Evil Eyes and those Capcan traps to halt them in their tracks.
The way that Noble set themselves up here last time really didn't work out great. They had a lot more C4 emphasis, and this time they have done away with quite a lot of their C4s, bringing even a Capcan, which is an interesting adjustment. They're also going to be reinforcing that garage, which is going to, I guess, be telling of more pressure downstairs for Noble. I don't know if that's the right call, though, because last time, more C4s, more presence downstairs, it did not work for Noble. Mouse had a good go taking into that main lobby. All they had to do was lay down some smoke, get the plant. Simple as. But who knows? Maybe second time's the charm for Noble, and they're going to give it a shot regardless of the way it didn't work out for them last time.
Spawn peek from Breezy through the window in the hallway just by main lobby looking towards the spawn, but there's nobody who's going to be over in that direction. So the ACOG of the Rook will have to be put away for maybe some closer engagements now, as there won't be an opportunity to get somebody as they're trying to head into the building. And speaking of heading into the building, 2 from Mouse, as both Vertical and Jackal, that's played by Hyper, have managed to come in very quickly to that admin area, and Crazy is situated in a position to possibly go for a fight here as he catches 1. Crazy goes for 2, but no, he can't even capitalize on the other, as Hyper, very low on HP, will lean around that corner and give us an interesting look. Beastly will be able to get Yeti down, but he'll be shredded as he goes on Repel. Breezy runs outside, and yikes, this is back and forth together, as I can say that again. I know that there have been a couple yikes things so far today, leaning into it as much as I can. Vandal will be able to take out Breezy in a 2v4 as Noble has let this entire round slip out of their fingers.
Yeah, it seemed like they had good control, but thanks to Hyper, honestly, I gotta say, single-handedly clutching that out. If it weren't for Hyper shutting down the Valkyrie of Crazy on those Visa stairs, it would have been complete decimation of the Mouse attack. But not to be, it seems. Acid trying to fight back. Good lines of sight, just barely missing that kill onto Vandal outside the front door, but he's still got a fighting chance. You also have Heavy on those yellow stairs. He can do some damage here, even heal up his teammate. He's still got 3 stim pistols left, but it's still control in favor of Mouse, and they are going to have the information game clearly well in hand.
Heavy has at least pivoted on the spot. Neptune's on that drone now, understands as Acid trying to play the long game into the site. The smoke will cut him off though, and once again Hyper up top watching that hatch. That's a power position for him to be, as he can cut off too many rotations for Noble to deal with. Plant going down quite successfully right now, and they're going to try to go for a stim pistol. Unbeknownst to them, the diffuser is free, and that will be Vandal who gets it off before retreating. And now all Mouse needs to do is just watch for that crossfire, try to get themselves into a position where there isn't really much of an option for Noble to get back on site. The Doc upstairs will wander in and see if he can maybe get somebody looking up top, and Hyper is able to pick off Acid, and that was what little was left of Maestro. Heavy in a 1v4, trying to find one. He sees the long barrel of the Jackal, but how do you lose that fight? Hyper with an easy kill for him, and that'll put us onto the final round, possibly looking for our first draw.
It could very well be. That was, again, like I said, that was definitely a clutch out by Hyper. If it weren't for him in that round, it would have been over and done with for Mouse. And now, like you said, we're inches away from a draw. I cannot believe that it's going to be so early in this season that we could possibly see one. Noble could lock it out, though. They are now freed up. They can go to a different site. They're going to choose that top floor, which I think they're going to have probably a much better time on, as they were successful last time they went to it. Or at least I want to say they were.
I think this has been too close back and forth. I mean, I usually don't try to do predictions, but I'm not going to be surprised if this ends in a draw between them. At the very last second, that Vigil will become an alibi, but it's interesting that I don't feel that the 6th pick has been that impactful so far for teams. You know, I feel like, at least with the 4 North American teams we've seen so far, a lot of these picks have been cheeky, designed deliberately to try and pull one over on the other team, who are probably expecting it to come, you know, especially when Yeti locks into Tachanka.
Well, see, the curious thing for me about the 6th pick is that the reason that it honestly isn't going to do much is because what do you still have? What have they not changed about the prep phase, Parker?
Well, they're drones.
Yeah,
you got
the
5
drones.
You got 5 of them.
You got 5 of them. You can drone out things. People, I mean, before the reveal phase even existed, most people understood what they were going up against. If not based on what you drone out in the building, in the prep phase, or even in the early stages of a round, simply based on game sense and understanding. So, yeah.
There are a potential couple things. Number one, Maestro getting picked if you see that the attackers aren't particularly explosives-oriented, if they don't have a Zofia or an Ashe, if they don't have frag grenades, and you know that you're basically free to use Maestro at that point because there's really nothing that can destroy it, provided you don't open it up to zip-zap people, then, you know, I think that The Maestro could potentially be a good pick. IQ as well, possibly flexing onto a Pulse. There are opportunities for it. I don't really think we've seen an instance so far where we go, oh, that was really good.
I think the closest we've gotten was the adjustment onto the Frost in the previous match by Rogue.
That was a very interesting choice, yes.
But of course, it has only been 2 matches so far in this season, so there's still lots of time for our minds to be swayed on that topic. Now, in this round, we see Vertical going to be droning into the A site. So it's clear of the intentions, or the intentions rather, of Mouse is clear. They want to push the A site, but it's a dangerous prospect considering they don't really have a lot of tools for the job. They've brought a good amount of nades and smoke, so the disruption is there, but it's very baseline disruption, no gadget-based, more just utility-based. And they don't have a Blackbeard to repel on any of the windows, so they cannot pressure the A balcony as one-sidedly as they'd like. So instead, Vertical is going to push his way up to the yellow stairs, and meanwhile, the rest of his team seemingly going in through garage, kind of an end onto the B window. So it's a shift from Mouse. They've opted to move to the other bomb site.
An early smoke will go out from the defense of Breezy to hold off the IQ of Vertical, situated at the top of yellow stairs, with a clear line of sight into that console office. Yeti downstairs. I feel like we've seen a lot of Yeti just aping previous members of his opponents. He's sitting in the same spot that Vertical sat in as the Valkyrie, and Flash from Neptunes will allow him to push his way up yellow, but Yeti is potentially there to take on the Hibana before getting droned out, and that's good coordination from Mouse to be able to call that to get Yeti to scoot off of the point. He'll head downstairs, but you can now see Mouse has adjusted to also head down there and wait for him to peek his head out.
First couple kills gonna come out. Acid gets Vandal, Beastly, and Neptunes will get 2 in response though, and it seems like, here we go. This is the actual take. Acid on a great angle, able to get Hyper. That's a huge frag for him. As he continues to hold on to this connector room, Breezy will try to contest yellow stairs, but it's not to be. Ooh, Heavy narrowly missing out on a kill. That was supposed to be a frag. He just barely missed the headshot, and with only 18 seconds left, Noble are trying to hold on to this victory. And as the B wall gets opened up, it could be a push from, yes indeed, Vertical with a double. Acid and Breezy go down. It's just Heavy to clutch it. 6 seconds. He's got to deny the defuse plant. He gets the diffuser down. Does he know it though? With only a second left, yes indeed he does. Rotates down to Pipes. A single-handed clutch from the man himself. And a 6-4 win for Noble.
We were seconds away from a possible draw, and Heavy with the last second heroics to give Noble a victory, truly grabbing victory from the jaws of defeat. You had 2 people in sight, and of course the one guy holding the diffuser is the one trying to swing into the window. What an impressive finish, and Noble will join Rogue with victories this evening, and Mouse will still have a chance to redeem themselves next week, but they are without